What's up, guys? Welcome back to Newswave. So it turns out Nintendo is trying to add at least something to their online service, new features. It seems like there's really just one thing right now that they're planning on doing, and maybe we'll get more stuff in the future and updates, but it kind of gives us an idea as Nintendo maybe playing around or even experimenting with different special offers, as they've said, as one of their features, which we'll talk about here today, as it looks like several different types of games are being given away in different regions. It looks like right now 2 games, talk about that. And then it looks like the PlayStation 3 emulation scene is getting insane. Like, it's getting crazy what they're able to do with this stuff. And I think it's going to work really well going forward into the future to see how some of these PS3 games could look with better hardware. As always, guys, enjoy these videos. Make sure to like button, it does help out, and get subscribed if you want to stay up to date on all gaming news. Do this every weekday morning, 8 a.m. Eastern time, and we're going to start today with Ghostbusters, which is a game you should check out. When it's coming out later this year, of course, we talked about it already, and now we have an actual release date for it. It was posted on Twitter, October 4th, and this is the game that is going to everything. You can see their Twitter post here, October 4th, 2019, and they also have check out the first look into gameplay at the link, and yeah, it's a great game. If you've never played it, I recommend it. I played it on the 360. I didn't play the Wii version, although people did like that one as well. They did some different things with the art style and everything, but I liked it a lot on the 360. It played like the third movie, essentially, and it's worth checking out. I'm really glad they're remastering it and coming out early October, so we'll have to wait too long, I guess, about 2 months. It's gonna be great. We had also talked before about Need for Speed and how one was supposed to be coming out this year. Well, EA did at least talk a little bit about it on that conference call, the one that we laughed at them about because they made some terrible excuses and reasoning to an actual investor about why they weren't supporting the Switch more. Well, Need for Speed does appear to be getting unveiled at Gamescom, as they themselves said on the call that in a few weeks they'll be showing it off at Gamescom. So we can look forward to that. Now, there was a leak that people were sending me. I took a look around. It appeared that the retailer that listed that had probably made the box art as it was actual like fan art that they used. And I don't even know if the title, which they said was Need for Speed Heat, I don't even know if that's correct. I mean, it could be. I mean, Need for Speed Heat could be the title, and the box art and stuff was pulled from different sources, but I think we still need to wait a little longer to see what it's actually going to be at this point, because they've been pretty quiet about it. So here's hoping it's not terrible and it's not full of loot boxes, but it's EA, so what can you do? Oh, and while we're on the topic of Gamescom, you can also look forward to Nintendo being there, as Nintendo Europe put out a tweet saying that they would be at least showing off different games there. I don't know if Nintendo's actually going to announce anything big. No new games. I mean, they might do like an indie style showcase or something like that, but I don't think you're going to see any blockbusters or anything drop there. They could show off Astral Chain, as that's like a week before that releases, and that seems like a good one to do. Maybe even Zelda Link's Awakening, another good one to do. Maybe Luigi's Mansion. Probably most of the stuff they showed at E3, they're just gonna pack it up and wheel it over to Gamescom, most likely. But hey, you never know, they could have something cool there, and we can look forward to Gamescom. It sounds like it's shaping up to be a pretty cool show, with things like THQ Nordic being one of the more interesting companies to watch there. Also, if you're a big wrestling fan, it looks like WWE 2K20 will be shown off much more, and it sounds like they'll have a bunch of new information and everything there. That's gonna be August 5th, so next week. You can look forward to that if they put out a tweet as well, just talking about how they're just gonna have more info for WWE 2K20. Now, it seems like whenever the new wrestling game comes out, recently anyway, I don't know if the quality has gone down, but there's definitely not as much excitement around it as like years and years ago. I'm thinking maybe like 2K13, 2K12. I mean, you can go all the way back and talk about that, but I was kind of hoping this would get a little better, but I haven't really seen that many people talk about it. We don't even know if it's going to the Switch, as a retailer posted it, and people aren't even sure about that. And we saw 2K18, so why even release it? It seems like people will just waste their money on it. But we've also seen some interesting tweets from people who are working at Ukes and everything, saying that they were trying to get something really cool going, and they had to spend about 6 hours playing Here Comes the Pain, which I think is probably one of the best wrestling games ever made. So I guess you never know, but at least 2K20, more info next week. And guys, some of the quick news out of the way, let's get into the bigger stuff. Let's talk about Nintendo's online service, something that has been lacking features in general, whether it's, voice chat, the ability to message, party systems that are just like system level with voice chat. There's a lot of things they're missing right now right? Even at a system level, backgrounds, themes, folders, you name it, it sounds like they need to add a lot to it. And I do question if they're gonna be able to fit all of that kind of stuff in this generation, and if we have to wait till the next Switch, or if they restart that. Anyway, it does at least look like they're trying some new special offers. I guess they would drop this kind of into the features category because it's like a feature for specifically people who subscribe to the online service for the system. It looks like they're going to be doing kind of a PlayStation Plus, Xbox Live Games with Gold Lite, kind of. It's a little odd, but it's an interesting idea, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about why, because I think you can find some value in what they're going to be doing here, but I also think they go a little bit further with it. Anyway, this is the announcement they made. It's going to be the same game for Europe and the US. In Japan, they're getting Captain Toad Treasure Tracker, but in the US and Europe and seemingly Canada, they're doing Mario Tennis Aces. And as you can see the tweet here, the way this is going to apparently work is that members of the Switch Online service, so of course the $20 for the year, you can actually play Mario Tennis Aces for free from the 7th to the 13th. So a week you can spend just playing it. And here's the thing about Mario Tennis Aces. You can beat that game in an afternoon if you have time. It's like 4 or 5 hours max if you have a hard time with some of them. So yeah, you can beat the entire game. I think the idea there is to get people into the online and then, oh, I want to stick around and keep this because they will also offer a 30% discount on it. But it does sound like after that week is up, you'll lose access to it. So you're pretty much just going to have a free week to play the game. And I think this is a good start, but it has to just be a start. Like it has to be, because at this time, there really doesn't, like the only reason that you're subscribing is to play online, which is something that Switch owners and Wii U owners and Wii owners, and they all played it for free. 3DS owners, right? It was a free thing up until now, and a lot of people were expecting the service getting paid for to fix a lot of issues with connection problems, and that's still a problem. People talk about things like Smash Bros. Online, don't even start on Mario Maker 2, but free games are interesting, and I know they're not technically free because you're paying for the online service, but still, adding some value like that is good. I think it would have been better. I mean, I guess Mario Tennis Aces makes sense because it has that online feature, and they might actually sell it to you if you do like it. I thought something like Kirby might have been a better pick, maybe, because it didn't sell as well as Aces, and that could use a little shine, but they mostly picked stuff from the Mario franchise with Toad and Mario. Maybe that's kind of what they were thinking. And here's the thing, they can do this again next month, and I guess the reason they're letting it expire is because, of course, Nintendo and their game value. I mean, we of course know Nintendo doesn't like to drop prices on their games, and they definitely don't want to devalue their IPs or their games by just giving them away, but I also think that there's a bit of give and take there, Nintendo, with the people who are actually subscribing to the service, because we're still playing NES games, right, for those that even open the app anymore, and at this time, we're not even able to message our friends about anything happening online, voice chat, like I said, the list goes on, so if you do this once a month, that might be a bit better for a lot of people, especially if you pick games that people have not played yet. But Mario Tennis Aces has actually sold okay, and you're not going to give away Mario Odyssey or Zelda or Smash Bros. Because those still sell well. But I think at this time, I would still prefer something over a trial, you know, like just more features. But hey, that's me. At least it's interesting and it's a step in the right direction. But let me know what you think. And what's the next game you would expect them to do or you would like them to do realistically, right? Like they're not gonna give away Link's Awakening, you know, in November or anything. But let me know what the next game is you guys would like to see. I'm actually surprised they didn't give us 1-2 Switch. I was sitting there like, you know what? They're going to give us 1-2 Switch, aren't they? Mario Tennis Aces at least isn't bad. Next up, let's talk about NBA Live 20. I'm serious because this is something weird is going on right now with NBA Live. Now, of course, that's had a really tough history. We saw it canceled, what was that, back in, what was that, 2013 or something? And ever since then, it's launched. It's always been like second to NBA 2K constantly. And EA has been trying to figure this out for a long time. And at the recent conference call that we talked about previously, they said that it will launch. NBA 20 is still happening despite there being rumors of it being canceled. They just don't have much information, and it's coming out sometime between October 1st and the end of December. And all we've heard is that they're going to go in a different direction. They're going to try something new, and that's why it's been quote unquote delayed or we haven't seen much about it. It's because they're going to do something different. So what can they do that would actually be different from, well, NBA 2K or just NBA 19, I think it might be time, at least for one of EA's sports properties, just become a full-blown games as a service. I mean, they basically are, except they have a ticket price every year for you to jump back into the new version of the game with, an updated roster and some extra features. I think with what EA does with loot boxes and microtransactions, specifically in FIFA, NBA 20 should just become either free or super cheap, and you just do that every year. I think it'd be better if you just get to the point where it's just a free-to-play game and you update it. You have, of course, several different things that they can make money outside of that. Then you won't have the people saying, oh, there's a $60 game, and you still have microtransactions, and your player base will be much larger, because some people, they might just want to get a free basketball game and not have to buy 2K that year. I think that's a good way to go. And you know what? I think EA might be thinking about that, but they can't let go of that $60. It's crazy, because FIFA makes more money now through microtransactions than the ticket price to get in. So, come on, they have to see this. And NBA Live is not worth that much anymore. So make it free and make some money off microtransactions. And hey, you know what? Put a little pressure on 2K, because even NBA 2K, which is riddled with microtransactions, they're getting a little comfortable over there. Next up, we got Call of Duty Modern Warfare. It's coming out at the end of October 25th. And while Activision is frustrating because they do things like add microtransactions after the game comes out to circumvent any type of labels they would have to put on box art and everything, we just saw it with Crash Team Racing, I am still interested in this Call of Duty, specifically because the campaign sounds interesting. It sounds different. It sounds like it's going to push the envelope a bit, and that's mostly what I'm looking forward to. Black Ops 4 was good, and then we saw what happened to that. I thought it was good when it first came out, but they didn't have any real look at any kind of microtransactions or anything. That turned into a monetization disaster afterwards, right? Like a month or two afterwards, it just got riddled with microtransactions, and it was just so much money after you initially bought the game. So while I do expect this game to go the same direction, I do want to play the campaign, but it looks like we got a look at the multiplayer, which is the reason a lot of people buy it, because according to Activision, no one plays the campaign, but I doubt that again. But if you're buying it specifically for the multiplayer, you'll even get to try it out. It looks like first up is going to be the PlayStation 4, as they're going to give early access to PS4 owners, something that they've been doing with previous titles as well. But this is actually something coming up fairly soon. So September 12th to the 16th, they'll have it's a multiplayer setup for the beta that is going to be there for early access for people who have pre-ordered the PS4 version. Then they're going to have a full open beta, and that's going to be September 14th to the 16th. Now, the second beta test period is going to start September 19th, and they're going to incorporate crossplay between PC, PS4, and Xbox One. So that's going to be September 19th to the 20th, and then they'll have an open beta cross-platform September 21st to the 23rd. So I like the idea of incorporating crossplay early on in open beta to see if you can get it all right. I'm going to be curious to see PC against controller, right? Mouse and keyboard versus controller. We'll see how all of that goes down, but it does sound like you could turn it on and off, and you could play around with that so you can decide who you want to play with. So if you're on the Xbox, you don't want to play with PC players, I guess you can turn that off. It's also interesting to see PlayStation 4 and Xbox be crossplay right away, like instantly. So it does sound like that Sony is a bit more open to it with certain system or certain games that are coming to their system. Call of Duty, of course, being massive, so I get why they would nod and say, okay, yeah, go ahead, crossplay. But either way, you can at least try it out in September. And our last bit of news, talk about PlayStation 3 Emulation, RPCS3. I always get that wrong because it looks like a whole bunch of letters jumbled up. Anyway, this PlayStation 3 emulator, I've talked about it before, in the past, I think over a year ago or something, I talked about it, and they had been developing it. And do you remember how Atlas got mad at them because they were taking Persona 5 and they were kind of advertising around it that their new emulator could play it? They didn't like that, but they agreed to take the stuff down. And well, unfortunately for Sega and Atlas, there wasn't much they could do other than get them to pull the imagery of different Persona characters and stuff like that. Because they're developing this all on their own, they're not using source code that's from Sony, so this is their own code. But this emulator has evolved rapidly. They're doing things like playing Persona 5 4K 60 on PC. You're actually seeing a video here of it, and this is from BSOD Gaming, where they show off kind of just what this thing can do now. It really is impressive, and I like the idea of some of these legacy devices. I mean, the PlayStation 4 doesn't play PS3 games outside of streaming it, and I don't even know if the PS5 will at this point, but here is an emulator that people are developing that can play PS3 games on your PC. Now, there's still several games that need help, but I've seen things like Resistance do really well, and I haven't seen Metal Gear Solid 4. That's the only thing. You see Resistance, you see Persona, nothing with Metal Gear Solid yet. I believe it still crashes or struggles after the title screen, and that's the one. Metal Gear Solid 4 would be insane to see at like 4K, 60 frames per second, just to see. That game was already a graphical showpiece when it launched on the PlayStation 3, but to see it really pushed along by a beefy PC that can hit that resolution and frame rate would be amazing. That's the game I would focus on for RPCS3. The creators, developers of it, get on Metal Gear Solid 4 because that's definitely one I would load up on my PC to check out. And let's finish up with the comment of the day as you're seeing here. This one's from Shaggy saying we won't bring games onto the Switch because people don't buy our games on the Switch because we don't have any games on the Switch because people don't buy our games on the Switch. This was by far the biggest thing I saw people point out. EA saying we have data to prove that no one really plays our games or prefer to play our games on other devices, you know, like Madden, that's on the Switch, right? Oh, wait, no, like NHL, like Battlefield, like Battlefront. That's the thing. We got to the point where a lot of people realized, wait a minute, they have 2 FIFA games, Faye, and Unravel 2. And Unravel 2 launched after the Xbox version, right? And you look at that and you say, well, wait a minute, they don't even have games. How would they know? I don't know. I don't know. I think there's more to the story, like I said. I just think that there is some bad blood, frustrations between EA and Nintendo after the whole thing with the Wii U and how those games didn't do well. And then there was talks about Origin finding its way to the Wii U. Nintendo said, no, there's a whole thing going on there because this doesn't seem normal. And the fact that investors are even questioning them and saying, guys, we're talking business here, right? Not emotions. Business. What's going on? And even the investor thought of The Sims. Like, come on. EA didn't even think of that? Yeah, they did. They don't want to do it for some reason. Ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it here for Newswave. If you enjoyed this video, guys, the like button really helps out. If not, hit the dislike. Leave comments down below about everything we talked about. Whether it's Nintendo and there's these free trial games. Apparently, it's the whole game. You can beat it if you want, and Mario Tennis is a short game, so you can beat that easily in a week. But do you think this is another good thing to add to the online, or are you just looking more for feature sets outside of just trial games to play? Let me know. And I guess the next game, what do you think the next game could be? Then what do you think about the PlayStation 3 emulation that's taking off, that NBA Live 20 that might turn games as a service? Should just all sports games just turn into that, where it's just a free-to-play thing, they update the rosters, and they just make a ton of money off microtransactions as they usually would anyway? Thanks guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.